Welcome to Counterpoint. I'm Tanya Granick-Allen. Another year, another budget. Yes, the federal government has just tabled its budget for the year, and with it comes some expanded programs, new expected spending, but also some unexpected spending. The federal deficit is now projected to reach $40 billion in 2023, with an increase in spending of $20 billion compared to last year, putting the total budget at nearly $500 billion. And speaking of a trillion, it is projected that with this new budget, our debt will total now $1.2 trillion by the end of the year. Of course, cost of living is still top of mind for many Canadians, leaving many of us to ask, did this budget tackle the inflation problem? Have things now leveled out in that regard? Lots to unpack here, and joining me later in the program will be Franco Terrazzano, Federal Director with the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. But joining me now with his concerns is Jasraj Singh Hallan, Opposition Shadow Minister for Finance and Middle Class Prosperity. Thank you for joining me, Jasraj. I appreciate your time here today, as I know it's very busy in Parliament. So we'll cut right through. What did you make of this budget overall?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Tanya. This budget, this NDP Liberal woke budget, was a full-frontal attack on Canadian paychecks and to the hardworking households that are barely making it by, like you mentioned, because of the high cost of living that was driven up because of the out-of-control spending of this Liberal NDP government that drove up inflation, drove up food prices, gas, groceries, home heatings, and made rents and mortgages double. This budget did nothing to address that in the short or long term.
Okay, now you caught me when you said this woke budget. What was woke about it? I'm curious.
Well, they raised the carbon tax. This carbon tax that did nothing to help the environment, nothing to help the Liberals meet their own emission reduction targets, and emissions went up. This is the same carbon tax that they promised would put more into Canadians' pockets. And just last week, their own hand-picked public budgeting officer proved that that was a lie all along, that more families will have to pay into this failed carbon tax scam than what they get back. And once again, our party is calling for this failed carbon tax to be cancelled so we can let Canadians keep more in their pockets and bring the cost of home heating, gas, and groceries down.
Well, like many Canadians, I guess we all sort of experienced this. We recently had an increase in the carbon tax, and many people will see that now at the pumps. You're paying a little bit more. So that seems to be top of mind for Canadians. You mentioned that. I wouldn't probably consider it a woke issue, but I can see the where one can make that connection. So have Canadians, do you feel, become acclimatized to this tax now? Is this a done deal and here to stay?
Not once Pierre Poilievre becomes Prime Minister of Canada, we will axe this failed carbon tax. What we needed to do right now is, as a combined effort, we should have been working with Canadians and for Canadians. What Canadians were looking for was some relief and a commitment by their government that they would help bring down this cost of living. This budget did nothing. They pile drove $43 billion of new deficit onto Canadians and put another $4,200 of cost on each and every Canadian household, taking more away from Canadians, leaving them with less and even worse services by this government that's been completely incompetent when it comes to its own delivering of services like passports, like immigration, like EI. This is the time that they should have stepped up for Canadians, but they did not. All they did was add more tax.
Well, let's talk about that for a moment. We were talking about the struggle of Canadians to make ends meet, and the cost of living has gone up. They did announce an expansion to the National Dental Care Program. Would that not help alleviate some of the costs for Canadians? Why and why not?
Look, Tanya, we don't know what this program actually looks like. The Liberals are great at announcements. They make many announcements, but the delivery, they never can follow through. I'll give you an example. This is the same Liberal NDP government that committed $89 billion to housing. And what ended up happening? Mortgages and rents doubled. And now it takes double the cost just to save up for a home. So to say that they have any credibility is completely false. And this is the government that's proven time and time again, they do not know how to deliver a program. They are great at announcements. This is a time when Canadians are looking for relief at the pumps. They're looking for relief on their groceries. They're wanting to keep more in their pocket, but this budget did not deliver any of that. It actually added more pain onto their paychecks because now the government's adding $4,200 of cost on each and every Canadian household.